Welcome to the AI and ML Conversations with myself, Yavor Botev. In this podcast, I talk to AI and ML experts about building real-world systems, working with humans and AIs, and exploring the future of our field. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the AI and ML Conversations with myself, Yavor Botev. Today, I'm super excited to have Sebastián Poliak joining the podcast for what I'm sure will be a very interesting conversation. So Sebastián has a lot of experience as a machine learning engineer and as somebody who understands ML and AI at depth. So I'm super excited to have you here, Sebastián. Hi.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, same here. So what I typically like to do is to kind of start from the beginning. And with you, I know that starting from your studies, I noticed that you were focusing on ML and data science and like information systems and technologies from university, which nowadays is more and more rare. I would say a lot of people are jumping into the field, especially as AI engineers, people who've studied some other things. But yeah, maybe you can talk to me about how you decided to study what you studied and what drove you to focus a bit more on ML and data science.
Yeah, so I have a master's degree in computer science from
Mm-hmm.
University of Technology in Brno, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, I guess somewhere during my high school studies, I decided I want to go to computer science. It was
Mm-hmm.
like quite a clear decision for me. I used to play a lot of computer games, and I remember that I once created my own like World of Warcraft server, which was kind
Oh.
of, I needed to learn some things, and then I kind of started liking it. And so the decision was more or less clear for me. I had good like mathematics experience and so on, so I went for it.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I soon realized that I'm more interested in things that are not precise. Like I was never
Mm-hmm.
very interested in, let's say, like security and these sort of things. I was always drawn towards artificial intelligence. I wanted to do something cool, I guess, um,
Mm-hmm.
as a lot of us in the field, and so I started to focus on this. I always picked up courses that were related to it, and then when I could choose my master's program, I chose intelligent systems, which was like a mix of machine learning, some robotics, also some simulations, and some like smart home things, and like
Mm-hmm.
mix of everything. And yeah, and after I graduated, I worked for 7 years in various companies as a machine learning engineer, data scientist, whatever it was called in the given
Yeah.
company, basically doing applied research and training models.
Yeah.
Yeah, and recently I have made a switch into a different career path. So I pivoted to become an independent app developer, and I'm currently building my own intelligent mobile apps. I currently have 3 mobile apps published. Maybe we'll get into it later.
Yeah. Super interesting. And it's like, especially that you made this jump into maybe like a indie developer. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about this. But maybe if we kind of go back to let's say the end of your studies and the early years, how do you feel like the topics that you studied in universities, because you studied them in like intelligent systems, that sounds very, I would say, complicated, right? Maybe you studied a lot of theoretical stuff. So if you look back towards what you studied in university and your years of experience in the field, how much of the things that you studied actually got applied in practice?
I think the basics are really crucial. Like
Hmm.
I'm I'm happy that I have solid background in like programming. I had to pass all these courses like operating
Mm.
systems and everything. And I think this is really important because it changes the way you think about things, about solving problems. You think more in first principles, I would say. And I I realized this several times in my career when I worked, for example, with other colleagues who didn't have computer science background, but they were coming more from like statistical background
Mm.
or let's say economics. They often lack this experience, although they have learned the newest and coolest. They know how machine learning models work, how the maths works, but they are just lacking the programming skills. And I think it's not very good because it shows sooner or later.
Mm.
Therefore, I think having this background is great. And yeah.
And what about the, let's say, statistical and machine learning part? Did you focus a lot on this during your studies, or did you pick it up later while working?
Mostly on masters I focused on it. I could see that like the curriculum was a little bit outdated in the university
Mm-hmm.
still, but I had an opportunity to actually go for an exchange program. So I studied in Norway and also in Switzerland for one semester, and I could see
Mm-hmm.
that it was like a bit more up to date there, especially in Norway. They were really like I was learning about GANs, like generative adversarial networks,
Yeah.
when my I remember that I had a course about GANs in Norway, and then I came back to my university and told my
Yeah.
professor that I want a diploma thesis on this, and he didn't know what it is. So it was quite fun.
Okay. Yeah. That. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. I think sometimes, well, sometimes some programs tend to be very heavily focused on theory. Other times it's more, perhaps more computer science focused, but perhaps like yours was. Yeah, but indeed, as machine learning engineers, we have to understand everything pretty much.
My university was very hands on. Like we did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of projects. They were really pushing us to do the projects, to program correctly. They would give you 0 points if you like if you handed over the project and something was like the function was called differently or something. They were like
Mm-hmm.
really strict about all of this, which I think taught me a lot to just like be very pedantic in this way.
No, that's nice. That's nice. And how did you? So when you started working in different companies, how did you navigate your interests? Let's say you started with one job, then maybe you liked some things more, other things less, and then you iterated on this throughout your career. So can you maybe think of some
Mhm.
important moments career-wise for you?
Yeah, I was quite lucky that my first job was about a search engine, and it was a company that had its own search engine. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look into all the things around search engine, like all the projects that are related to it, they are really the core of machine learning. Like the precision and
Mm-hmm.
recall and everything from this comes from the search problem. And the company was almost like a small Google, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I was able to get into a lot of data, and the projects were just real, and I could really learn a lot from others. So I was lucky to have this experience. And then when I was navigating to other companies, I had this surge experience. So I kind of tried to go towards like NLP, yeah, natural language processing, and I ended up actually doing recommender systems in my last company,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of something different, but at the same time a challenge to learn how to build a personalized recommender. But in the end, you
Mm-hmm.
find out that the principles from search engines apply there. Like it's also learning to rank problem in the end. So I think
Yeah.
this was my main domain, and then it switched quite a lot with Gen AI coming up. The NLP projects are just in a different league, I would say now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So actually, indeed, when you're talking about search engine and then recommendation systems, I think they are in their own, let's say, within machine learning and AI, they are quite closely connected. They're different than time series prediction problems, right? Where you want to predict something in the future, like the electricity price or maybe a stock price or some economic variable. So yeah, like that. So yeah, you're a bit more focused on natural language stuff and recommendation systems, which I would say are connected, right? Would you say so?
Yes, yes. However, I also did some computer vision projects because the
Mm.
company also had like an image search, so we were doing some image relevancy, image
Mm.
classification. I worked on different projects, whatever was needed. So not
Hmm.
necessarily just limited to search engine or
Yeah,
relevancy in textual format.
yeah. And I remember actually recently I talked to another ML engineer who was telling me. So he was also looking at some NLP based systems, let's say 5 years ago, and was developing them within his company. But then recently, with the introduction of the transformer architecture, everything changed. So all of these past frameworks were kind of thrown away, and you start using the state of the art transformer architecture. Did you have some similar experience in your career?
Yeah, like if you look at it now, nobody is training NLP classifiers right now, I would say, because you can just build one with two sentences in a prompt.
Hmm.
So definitely there has been a change. Like some of the projects that I worked on were like a sentiment classifier, and nobody would be training their own sentiment classifier now if they wanted to do it, let's say offline. Maybe if they wanted to do it like really real time in some like small device or something, they would train something, but otherwise it just doesn't make sense. So I perceive this Gen AI as a big
Hmm.
shift in the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Same with me, although I'm not sure what exactly to make of this. But definitely the role of machine learning engineer is changing a lot. There seems to be a less appetite from businesses for machine learning engineers to train models. Everybody seems to reach for the AI, for the Gen AI solutions first. For a good reason, probably, right? Because training a model takes a lot of time and effort and a lot of people, but using the LLM is easier.
Exactly. And maybe we will get to it, but that was also part of my decision why I decided
Mm.
to go into app development. Like if you look into like, I did applied research, right? But if you look on the
Hmm.
scale, like you on one side you have like fundamental research that has always been done by like universities and big research teams in some companies, and on the other side you would before we had engineers and just engineering bringing the models into production, and my positions
Hmm.
were always somewhere in the middle, like an applied researcher. I tried to take the state of the art models, train them on our data, and hand them over to the engineers who would bring it to production.
Hmm.
But I think now with this Gen AI, this scale is kind of shifting. I think this space in the middle is kind of shrinking because now these applied researchers are moving more towards the normal engineers, and at the same time normal engineers can write prompts very easily.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of blending in the engineering and let's say machine learning engineering. And so I had to basically make a decision: do I want to move towards fundamental research, or do I want to move towards AI engineering, writing prompts, calling APIs, and just being an engineer? And
Hmm.
I was thinking about this quite a lot, and in the end I realized that I don't want to do any of that. That I want to like go into another domain, like another vertical,
Hmm.
and just start building my own project, my own products. As I got more into like product design and stuff like this. and which is still like, I would say, on this scale that I mentioned, I would be in the
Mm-hmm.
AI engineering part, like, but I added the another layer, which is just product design, creating the products, building the front end, and trying to market it, and all of this. And I
Yeah.
also didn't mention one thing, that like during my studies, I actually worked part time, and I worked as a front end engineer. So I was like building
Mm.
webs basically, and doing this. I learned how to do React, and so I had some experience in this, which translated quite nicely, not only to my jobs as a machine learning engineer, because I could like easily build some let's say demos, like proof of concepts, to
Mm-hmm.
show the models. So it came handy several times in my career, I would say, but especially
Mm-hmm.
now when I moved into indie app development, like having some front end skills is really valuable. So maybe my message would be like, don't ever like be scared of doing something, or like every experience is good. You never know when you will use it in your career. Like don't just put like blinds on and go towards machine learning and everything. It's much broader, and you
Mm.
can always use it.
Yeah. You mentioned so many things that I want to ask you about. Maybe let's start with the last one. I personally have this question in my mind right now, especially with AI coming up. Should I try to be, what's the word, a jack of all trades, or should I try to focus a bit more on one specific area? So now you're saying that, of course, it's better to know about more stuff, but then there is a cost for this, and the cost is that you don't know about many things in detail. I think, yeah, and maybe to actually to add to this, as a independent app developer, which you've now transitioned to, I guess it's definitely more useful to become to know about many technologies to be able to build an app fully on your own, let's say. But what do you think about if you work in a company? Like, would you recommend people to try to get as much exposure to all kinds of technologies, or to become specialized in one single field, let's say, or technology?
I think it depends what you want to achieve, but in general, like when you are in the company, you have one role, and you just try to get as deep into the role
Mm.
as possible. But I think it has always been different with these applied research roles, because you were always somewhere between product and engineering. Like you
Mm-hmm.
weren't like a pure engineer, and at the same time you weren't like a product manager. So you were always trying to navigate it and communicate both with products. So you actually create the model that the product wants,
Yeah.
and with engineers, so you can deploy the model into production. And therefore, like it required, I would say, like a special skill set to be able to do both,
Mm.
to think as an engineer, but at the same time to think as a product manager. And
Mm-hmm.
every project is different and requires different things. And when you are a machine learning engineer, sometimes you need to label the data, let's say, or you need to create an annotation tool for somebody else to label the data. And in many companies, especially if they are smaller companies, you don't have a QA team, or you don't have the front end developer who doesn't have any work to do, and he will build an annotation tool for you. So sometimes
Yeah.
you need to like step out of your role of being machine learning engineer and just do this. Or sometimes you need to go and present to something to some other team how you are doing, what kind of data you need, and a lot of this. So I would say you need a lot of skills, and don't be afraid to take on
Mm.
any other roles. I think you learn a lot, and especially when I can feel it now, after you leave the company, the only thing that remains are the knowledge, right? That you have acquired,
Yeah.
the experience, maybe some savings and stuff, but and the connections of the people. So also it's very important to just
Yeah.
stay connected, make friends. It will help.
Yeah. 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 That's definitely the case. And of course, leaving a company is a big decision, and moving it to be well into something a lot more uncertain as to be a kind of an app developer. So you mentioned that GenAI had a well, maybe before this, I wanted to just ask on this term because you used this a few times. Applied research. How do you like? Do you is this not what a machine learning engineer normally does, or do you think that applied research is somehow different than a normal machine learning engineer job?
I would say like I think I use the term like interchangeably, but
Mm,
I like my roles were as a machine learning engineer were not like engineering focused. I would say I was not the
mm,
one who was handed the model or the one who would deploy the model and just take care of it. Uh, yeah,
yeah.
build the pipelines. My job was to create the model, to train it, to find out what will be the structure of the model, how the training will happen, to evaluate it, and all of this. So like I use the term applied research for this because usually I needed to read some research papers to get the fundamentals, the models, and then try to adapt these models to train the model for the given company. And then most
Yeah.
often I just handed it over to the engineers. Sometimes I deployed it myself, but
Hmm.
it depends on the company.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now that's clear now. Okay, cool. And then you said so now you try to leverage all of your skills, including marketing, front end engineering, AI, well, machine learning engineers and AI engineering skills. And you were saying that this, like, can you speak a little bit about again how you decided to make this transition from working in a normal full time job to independent developer?
Hmm. Yeah. So actually, my in my last job, I I was involved in a GenAI project. We were building a
Mm-hmm.
conversational shopping assistant, which would basically a chatbot which you would find on some e-commerce website. It would pop
Mm-hmm.
up and just start asking you questions, and you could just say, "Hey, I'm looking for a perfume for my mom," and it would recommend you whatever is the perfume. Then you could say, "Compare the first two,"
Mm-hmm.
and it would do it. And like I was involved in this project in the whole cycle of the project. We really created it from scratch. Like there was nothing. We didn't even know what should be the UX, what should be, how it should look like, what should it be capable of doing. And I was involved in the whole process, and I realized that I was doing like a lot of product decisions because nobody else was kind of able to do it, or we
Yeah.
just had like free hand to do them. And as the project went on, I realized that I'm quite good at it actually. That I'm able to build a product, and I realized how easy it is to do it with the AI. And like one thing led to another, and I realized that I really like designing products. So I was thinking, how could I do something like this on my own? I was thinking, will I transition to a product role in some company? But then I realized I don't really want to for different reasons. And I was just excited to build some apps on my own. So I started learning. I started doing some courses after work to learn like Swift language, which I use right now in the front end, and my backends
Mm-hmm.
are in Python. And thanks to AI, it's quite easy to learn new things today. It can help you. And the way I am learning these things are I learned by building. So it's not that I'm just learning random things and then start like for the sake of learning. I just started building my app. I didn't know what it will be. My first version of the app was just a single wrapper. Basically, you would just write what is your goal, and it would give you like a list of bullet points of what you should
Mm-hmm.
do to achieve your goal, and you would just tick off like what you have already done. So it was like a simple, let's say, to-do list, like something that will give you the path towards your goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just build it. I just wanted to go through the whole process of building the app, what it takes to build something from scratch and actually deploy it to the App Store. And I did that, and then I was curious, like, will somebody even download my app? I had no idea what will be the market. This was still the time when I was working, right? Like I was working full
Hmm.
time and I was building this app during nights. And so I released it, and I could see some downloads, and it was in the terms like 3 downloads, 5 downloads per day. But I was still like really amazed because I could see the logs in Google Cloud, which I use, and I could see like, oh, somebody actually entered some goal, and now he's like checking the boxes, and it didn't take long before somebody purchased the app, because I did it that okay, one goal is for free. If you want more goals, you need to subscribe. And suddenly I had like a subscription. And I was like, wow, like it's actually possible without like you don't have to build a huge app to be able to get it in front of people and to get some engagement. Yeah, and then I just move on. I just started improving the app because I had motivation. I could see that people are using it, and I've been doing it since, and I built more apps since then.
Wow, that's great. Super, super amazing indeed to hear that. I think it's amazing also as a developer to build something and then to have other people actually using it and even better paying for it. So maybe one question I have on the marketing and engagement side is how did you market this app? Because I think one of the biggest challenges with products in general is putting them in front of customers. Like, how do you find these customers? So,
Yeah, you are hundred
did
percent
you use
right.
any tricks?
Yeah, it's very difficult, and I'm really bad at it, to be honest, because I've never been in a marketing role. Like I don't know how to do it. So I'm trying different things. I tried running a YouTube channel. It was more of an experiment. Right now, I'm trying to do some short form content for TikTok and YouTube, which is working quite nicely, I would say. But in general, I rely mostly on organic traffic. So I'm doing, it's called ASO, App Store Optimization. It's the equivalent to SEO, like search engine
Hmm.
optimization, where you try to just pick up the correct keywords and optimize the metadata of the app, so you actually get the organic traffic into the app. So this is, I would say, 80% of all my downloads come from organic traffic. So I'm optimizing for this, but sometimes you need to like throw something into it to just like push the algorithm a little to get, because the algorithm also takes into consideration how many ratings you have and so on. So I try to do some marketing on the side, but my main focus is actually on this ASO thing.
That's super interesting. Actually, I was not aware that that this thing even existed as a term. Um, but would you say that your background in search engines and recommendation systems helps you a little bit to optimize your app uh, for this?
Definitely, definitely. Having the experience of knowing how the search engine works, I can use it. I wouldn't say that I'm able to break it somehow, but I can at least understand how it works. And so I got this knowledge for free almost. I didn't have to study it. And in general, I think having data science experience helps with the apps, no matter whether the apps are AI powered or not. I try to build
Hmm.
AI powered apps, therefore, there is this component. But even if they are not, I think being able to just analyze your data and make data driven decision every time is very helpful, because especially if you are a solo developer, you have to choose what you will focus on. Like, will I build a new feature? Is it worth it? Because it will take 2 weeks of my time. And at the same time, I can focus on some other apps. Where do I move on, or where do I keep building the same app? And which features do I want to actually introduce? So I've been trying to do all these decisions based on data, to measure some events in the app from the logs, and then bring the new feature which should improve this metric. And I've done it. For example, I mentioned this one app. It was the first app of mine. It's called Streetly, and it's like a goal tracker. Yeah, you enter the goal, and the app helps you achieve it. And I told you how the first version works, But now the current version is much better, and the app actually gives you suggestions for your next step, and you can like swipe left or right, similar as you would swipe on some dating app. Yeah, and you can just like swipe, no, I don't want to do this, or swipe right, like yes, this is what I really need to do, and then you get into, you just like accept the quest. And I really introduced this feature because I could see that people are just not taking on the quests. And um, I had like just like 30% of people or something actually accepted some quest. And with this swiping, I improved it to, let's say, 70, 80%. Therefore, um, I think my message would be that nowadays the AI should really be working in complement with the user interface, because I think that's how you can distinguish yourself from
Mhm.
the rest, because everybody can write the prompts now, and you can see a lot of products which are just like a inbox,
Yeah.
chat box, where you just write with the AI. Yeah, you can call it whatever, a life coach, but in the end, it's just normal chat. Yeah, but I think how you can distinguish yourself and how you can actually improve the product very much, because people don't want to write all the time. Sometimes, if you can click, just click, and there are many like UI tricks which can help you with the whole experience. And I think ChatGPT still doesn't have them. Yeah, like suggestions for
Mm.
answers and many other things that you can do. And I think if you just think out of the box and build these features into the product, it can really differentiate you from the competition.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I remember to ask you that question afterwards. But before that, I wanted to touch on something else that you mentioned, that being data driven is very important, which is also something that I 100% agree with. And I've seen it a lot in companies, and also talking to people, that a lot of the product product decisions made in different companies, both in terms of features and whole product lines and etc., are still not very data driven. Still, a lot of people make these decisions based on hunches or random conversations with prospective clients or something like this. And I find this quite strange, especially nowadays, that data and just probabilistic. Well, I would say that AI is popular, but I would say that probabilistic thinking, something that you actually mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, is probably not that popular nowadays. Yeah, have you seen this in some of the companies that you worked for?
Yeah.
Were were some product managers and product decisions made more on data, or not so much?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can see it in almost every company right now with this AI hype, AI boom. Everybody wants to build AI features. Nobody is measuring whether this AI feature will do something, whether we really need them. And you can see that these AI features are now plugged into a lot of products. For example, they are in Messenger, they are on Instagram. I've never used them, but they are there,
Mm.
and I think, yeah. So definitely agree that the companies are
Yeah.
not making on this like feature level. I think most of the companies are not making data driven decisions. I think they are making data driven decisions more on like budget level, economic level, I would say,
Hmm.
like this C level thinking. But I think these lower projects and everything, it's usually, yeah, somebody has an idea, let's build a product.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's actually a business idea for somebody to build. Maybe somebody listening to this podcast build like a data-driven product prioritization tool or something like this.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. It depends whether your product is mature. Like for example, when I worked for a search engine company, they were doing a lot of A/B tests. I
Hmm.
think not as lot as like big companies like Meta and so on, but still we were doing A/B tests. But I think the reason for it was the product was quite big. There was enough data to get the conclusions from the A/B tests, and it was more about this. But if the company is actually introducing new products or changing some features, they are just, I think, maybe there is some market research, but I also
Hmm.
experienced that we as machine learning engineers got some insights from the market researchers, and they were completely wrong. Just how the interviews were done, they were asking the questions in a different way. Then we had, like, ourselves, we had some calls with the clients. We asked them similar questions, just in a different formulation, and we got completely different answer. Yeah, things are often done just for the sake of doing them, I would say, and sometimes the
Yeah,
rational thinking can be missing.
nice. Yeah, that's a good anecdote. Okay, cool. And you mentioned that you are now using AI as to build your apps, but also make them more interesting, more differentiated than other possible apps. Can you share about how your thinking is kind of shaped for this?
Yeah. So in terms of development, I wouldn't say that I'm doing any sort of vibe coding or anything like that, that AI would be
Oh.
writing my code, like none at all. I would say at least half of all the code is written by me, just by hands. But of course, I am using it to check it, to consult it, and if I need some function, I use it for that. Especially in Swift, I think it's not there yet. The models are not very good because Swift has every year new versions, and some things become deprecated. Some things
Mm.
are, like, there are new things which the model has not seen yet because there is a cutoff, and so you just cannot rely on it, especially if you are building for the newest versions of the iOS. Therefore, yeah, as I said, half of the code is still written by me in Swift.
Mhm.
In Python, I have a lot of experience in Python because I've used the language in all the companies, so I don't need to generate so
Mhm.
much code. I write it naturally, but I often check it because it's a, for example, it's like a code review, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm alone, I'm a solo developer. Having somebody to check your code, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's actually very. I was actually surprised that you're not vibe coding, but yeah, in your case, I understand. You explained very well why that's not so useful, and how I think some of your apps are AI powered, right? Like you use
Mhm.
LLMs in your apps. How do you go about this? Like maybe if you can share what general architecture you use, what models, what LLMs you prefer, things like this.
Yeah, sure. Just going back to vibe coding,
Hmm.
I just want to say that I would I need to understand all the code that is in my apps. Like I wouldn't be able to sleep if I just generated some code, put it into my app, and I wouldn't know what it does. And especially if the app is built on, like, different things such as, like, database, and you use, like, different things in the app, and if you just plug in some code, it's quite dangerous. I need to test everything before I put it there. And also, if the app is already in production and you want to make some update, you have to really think about many things before pushing the code
Mm,
into production. And if you are just asking the LLM to do it for you, it won't think, it doesn't have all the context. And yeah, so that's why. And regarding my backend and the models that I use.
hmm.
So my backends are running on GCP, Google Cloud Platform,
Hmm.
and I am using Gemini models currently for all my apps. And I'm just using Python. I use Fast API. I built a Docker image and just upload it to Artifact Registry and use Cloud Run, where I deploy it from there, and I just update it there. So
Mm,
it's all built like this. And it's
yeah.
it's been working great. It's very simple. I don't need to build any infrastructure. It's serverless, working smoothly.
Nice, nice. That's good. I actually just recently came across a blog post of somebody who was saying that OpenAI like the big company, is also built on top of Python with fast API, which I found very interesting
Oh,
to have
nice,
this.
nice.
So yeah, so it's actually you're working the same way that the Open API does.
Oh,
So that's
yeah. I
probably
mean, I'm using things that I had been using in the companies also. Like I've seen what is used in big systems, so I try to make it similar, and that's what I have experience with.
And if you mentioned that you use Gemini as an LLM, a couple of things I wanted to ask you there is first, are you worried about the costs that your app can generate? And then also about, let's say, the evaluation of the LLM, if that's necessary at all. But yeah, you can take both questions.
Yeah, I'm of course worried because my credit card is plugged in, right? Actually, a couple of days ago, I had like a small heart attack because I woke up, opened my email, and all the alerts that I have in the system like went off, and suddenly it was like your costs have increased by 300%, and I'm like, what has happened? Like, has somebody hacked me or something? But then I realized that like a day before, I tried this VO model, which is like a video generation by Google. It's like a new model, some equivalent of Sora, and their cost is really high. Like I think it's like 50 cents for 1 second of the video, and I didn't realize that the costs are this high. And I just generated a couple of videos for my marketing efforts, and suddenly costs just like went really high. So yeah, but then I realized that okay, it's coming from this model. I won't use it anymore. But I would say like the cost from the usage of my app, since I'm using Gemini Flash models, which is quite cheap, it's not very significant. I think I can still handle it. I mean, all my apps are profitable. Like in the margin is like really really high compared to costs,
Mhm.
although the scale is low still.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's good that now it's crazy how much the costs of LLMs have dropped in the last 1 or 2 years, maybe by X, something like this.
Mhm.
It's really nice because it empowers exactly developers like you to build their own apps and put them in front of customers, which I think is great. Um,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the new models are constantly being introduced, and it's the best thing if you can just switch one number in your config file and suddenly your product gets much better. So I think this is great in
mm,
building these apps that I build it to be scalable, and I just take care of them, try to update them with new releases of models, new releases of iOS, and just constantly move forward.
nice. And do you think for your apps you need to have some sort of a evaluation suite or evaluation part for the LLMs? Just to know that they're doing um, what you want them to do, or do you feel like that's not necessary? I mean, by evaluation suite, I mean something like what we do for machine learning models, right?
Hmm.
Because nowadays I think it's not clear whether you need to have this for LLMs, because sometimes you could have just simple logic in the code, like if else statements or something like this, or like error catching to avoid not having to build this evaluation suite. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm curious to hear how do you handle evaluations?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have any evaluation data sets right now. I still think they are very valuable, but I just don't have time to build them. I just rely on LLMs being good enough. I usually just test the app myself or give it to a handful of people. And if
Mm,
everything is good, I just put it into production and I try to lock as many things in production as possible. So basically, the users in production are doing the testing for me, and if I see some errors, which happens, right, like the LLM just answers incorrectly, I try to just fix it, make an update in production without changing the app, so the users don't even know that something has changed. But I can just change my model, my prompt on backend, just re-upload it, and everybody suddenly gets a better version.
mhm.
So yeah, I would like to build these test suits in the future, but currently it's not something
Mm.
I'm thinking about more. Like I need to worry about other things, I would say. And I think also companies like the field has been moving so fast, and when I remember that when there was still like the first version of Gemini, like Gemini 1.0 Pro, it wasn't working well. We were also trying to fine tune the model
Mhm.
simply because it couldn't do our tasks well, and that's when we had some test suits to do it because we had like a training set, testing set.
Mm.
But as the models got better, we actually realized like the new model came up, we switched it and we realized that this new model is better just by prompting it compared to our fine-tuned model. And I guess somewhere there we stopped building the
Mhm.
data sets and just relied on some QAs doing it and just logs.
Okay. Maybe quick question because you mentioned fine tuning. Do you think it's nowadays uh, with LLMs improving so quickly? Do you think fine tuning is still needed, or for most cases you can just use the LLM as it is?
I don't think it's much needed actually. I think if your task cannot be solved with the current models, which are quite powerful, I think you can use other things, like you can decompose the task a little bit, maybe use a
Hmm.
couple of more calls, like do it in some chain and do it in this way. I don't think fine tuning is necessary. It's also costly because you then need to deploy the
Mm.
model. You don't use the general API, but you have to have your own, which is more expensive. And I think you can really just improve the prompt, maybe do some few shot learning, like add some like few examples to the prompt if needed. But actually, we like one thing that happened to us, we tried to add some examples to the prompt, and even though it started working well for the given examples, it started working worse for others. So
Mm.
it's not definitely not a solution to just always put the wrong examples into your few shot set in the prompt, because you basically fine tune the model by prompting it, right, by what you write there, and you can just overtrain it for certain examples, and it will stop generalizing. So I think the best thing you can do is just keep your prompt plain and just try to explain it as good as you can. Sometimes it's good to just ask the LLM to check your prompt, maybe to reformulate it and use that
Hmm.
if you cannot.
Yeah, good. Very good tips actually on the fine tuning, and I mostly indeed agree with your thinking, especially that now uh, bet- better and better models are being released so frequently, and then if you fine tune model this month, then there's a better model that you might want to fine tune next month, and then it's a bit too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about your apps. You mentioned that like evaluation set is not one of your biggest concerns right now, which is absolutely fair. So what are the most important things that you think you should be focusing on regarding your apps?
I think the most important thing is the whole process when somebody gets into the app. Like you have the whole onboarding flow when somebody gets into the app,
Hmm.
and the like your goal is to get the user through the onboarding flow and actually
Hmm.
convert him, right? Like that's the ideal scenario, and different companies do it differently. Some companies offer trials, some have like hard paywalls that you need to pay. I don't like any of that. I try to use these like freemium models where I actually give part of the value to the user. For example, in my app Streetly, you can have your first goal completely for free. In my other app Bubbly, which is a public speaking coach app, I give you some free speeches so you can at least try the app, get some of your speeches evaluated, and then you can decide whether you want to buy the app or not. So what I'm trying to do is just build this onboarding flow so it's very natural for the users, and to see how many users will actually use the app, use its core functionality, and what will be their reaction to it, and just optimize towards it. And yes, like of course the quality of the model and the prompt has a direct influence on it, but it's not the only thing. There are other things like what will you put into your onboarding flow, and how will you actually how will you build the UI, how will you build the functionality of the app, and all of this. So
Hmm.
that's mostly what I'm thinking, and where I spend, I would say, 70 to 80% of the time, and the remaining is just the backend, the prompting. And I just try to do it like I always write some version and just improve over time as I see more data points coming in. um,
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think you would need help from some other people in the future? Because I guess working on your own, you have only 24 hours per day if you don't sleep.
yeah yeah.
So how do you think about this?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like my original plan is to just stay like a solo developer. If I can make it, it would
Mm,
be absolutely great. And for example, I'm working with some influencers right now that have their audience, and they are just
mhm,
basically making some reels for me and publish them on their channels,
mhm,
and like I pay them, so I kind of like outsource some of the marketing. I'm trying to do this. Otherwise, yeah, as I said, if some of the app gets really big and I cannot handle it myself, I would
mhm,
just start the company and hire the people. But it's not really my goal. My goal is to be sustainable by myself, and maybe if AI gets better, I could somehow leverage it and build some smaller agents that would help me with some repetitive tasks that I do every day. But it's really not my problem right now. I would say my biggest
mm.
issue right now is just to do the marketing right, to get the app in front of the people, and just optimize it to become the best product.
Yeah, interesting. So regarding the influencer marketing, are you able to measure the success of their campaigns and equivalently of your money spent to them?
Not really, because Apple doesn't allow this sort of tracking anymore. But
Hmm.
you can, in general, you can get an idea. Like I'm not getting that many downloads that I cannot figure out where they are coming from, and you
Hmm.
can analyze them and break them down based on the country. So if the influencer publishes it for the given country, I can see that, oh, these downloads are from the country. It's most probably coming from this post. But yeah, usually influencers work in a way that you pay for the number of views or for the number of likes, or depends on
Hmm.
how you do it. But usually you check what is their audience and you agree on the price before you publish the reel. So they don't care what will be the result, and you just have to guess whether it's worth it or not. And I still don't
Mm.
have a good guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a great strategy because it's something I think that can probably pay off, and it's one of those things that have fat tails. Maybe I don't know, 10 of these influencers will not work, but one of them would have a very successful campaign, and there would be a massive amount of traffic to your account,
Yeah,
to your apps. So
yeah.
yeah.
I had one video by one influencer going quite big, and I could really feel it in the app. And not only the app, but for example, my landing page got really a lot of visits from just natural Google traffic, and I could see just like ranking improving of my website. I could see the app getting download and therefore getting ratings, some conversions. So the rankings were again improving. So I think it's worth like paying for some campaign like this, not only because of
Hmm.
the direct impact, but it can actually like start the fire. It can make the spark in the algorithm and boost your rankings and have like a really long term effect.
Well, I can see how again your search engine recommendation
Yeah, always.
system is coming in. Nice. So maybe I think we are at kind of reaching a good point of the discussion where we could kind of think about finishing it. But of course, I wanted to give you an opportunity to um, maybe again present your. I know we've talked about your apps quite a lot, but if you want to give a bit of a summary to our viewers where they can find your app, what your apps are, of course, as well. Yeah, feel free to do it.
So you can find me on Threads or on LinkedIn as Sebastián Poliak. I also have a YouTube channel, but it's more of an experiment. But feel free to subscribe as well. It's called also at Sebastián Poliak. And I currently have 3 apps published. One of them is Streetly. It was my first app. I've already mentioned it. It's like a goal tracker, but it's intelligent. It helps you break down your goals into simple steps and just achieve your goals. Then my newest app is called Bubbly, and it's a public speaking AI coach, which helps you eliminate, for example, these filler words like, so, which I use a lot, and that was the reason why I created the app, right? And it can give you feedback on grammar, and it works in several languages, not just English. I'm currently trying to push for other languages like German, Czech, Spanish, French, Italian. So you can try that. It's also done in a fun way. The app prompts you to give you some speech in different settings like interviews, workplace, or public events. And you just give the speech, get the feedback, and improve your speech in this way. So these are my 2 AI powered apps. Then I have third app. It's not really AI powered. It's called a video date stamper, and it just reads your creation date from the video and adds it to the video, so you can just timestamp your videos. It's a very simple utility app. And yeah, those are the 3 apps. I'm not planning to build any new one anytime soon because I realized that I have a lot of work to do just on these 3 apps right now to update them and keep them running, but maybe in the future.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I hope the traffic, especially the organic traffic, will continue and grow even bigger to your apps. I think that would be amazing. I've tried some of your apps, the public speaking app. That was actually very smooth and very nice experience. And to be frank, it's like very inspiring to know that like one individual built this app, and I think you probably built it quite quickly. Like you didn't spend a whole year on it, so that's amazing. And yeah, so is there anything else that you want to tell to our viewers? Maybe some life advice or anything at all? You don't have to, but if you have
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
feel free.
First of all, thank you very much for mentioning it. That you tried the app and that you liked it. I really appreciate it. It was, yeah, this last one was built in 2 months or 2.5 months, but it was just because my first one took almost a year and I got a lot of experience from that, which I could just simply
Mhm.
reuse. I reused the components, so it got built much quicker now. That was the reason. Otherwise, it takes time to build up. To be honest, if it should work correctly and be valuable. And life
Yeah.
advice, I don't know, like just do what you love, build nice products and optimize towards the KPI that you have. My KPI is freedom and happiness,
Mm.
and I just try to chase that. I like right now, especially when I'm building my own apps, I wake up every morning and I'm just happy to start working. And I didn't have this when I was working for the company. I had it a few times in certain projects, but then it always faded and some frustration kicked in. Right now I'm really happy with this, so I would say find your own way, optimize for whatever is whatever makes sense for you. It can be money and climbing a career ladder for
Mm.
somebody else it can be freedom. I don't mind, but just yeah, just and try to build good products. I see this often in the app space, that they are trying to more like scam people,
Mhm.
where they just try to optimize for paywalls and just like really push you towards paying, or you forget about your trial and the product is really not that great in the end. So I would just say focus on really building the great product, and I hope money will come second.
I like this advice. Freedom, happiness, quality products. I think these are all amazing things. Thanks so much for participating in the podcast, Sebastian. It was great having this chat with you. With a machine learning engineer who went from being from working in big companies to working on his own things, on building high quality products, and also in a very nice way. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to the AI and ML conversations with myself, Yavor Botev. If you want to support the show, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. In addition, please follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple and share it with the people you know. Thank you.